Hello guys and welcome back to something a little different but maybe familiar to some of you, which is we're actually going to look at some strategy in StarCraft 2, which is not something I've done for a very long time. But they did release a new patch recently which kind of overhauled the game a lot, and today's topic is really going to be looking at the Cyclone, which got 2 more range. It used to be 4 range, now it's 6. It had its attack rework, both the ground attack and the lock-on anti-air attack, and it also has more health. I think it's used to be like 135 and now it's 180. So they also made the Cyclone cost 150 minerals, 100 gas. It builds in 32 seconds, which is the same as a tank, but it's slower than a Hellions. I think Hellions are like 22 seconds, 21 seconds, something like that. Like 10 seconds shorter, so like a third. 33% slower than the Cyclone. And then there are free supplies now. So the idea here is actually going to be just to experiment a bit with the Cyclone, see how does it play in the scenarios that we used it in before, and can you use it in army compositions. My initial guess is going to be no. I mean, I don't think it's particularly great, but we'll just kind of have a look, and maybe I'm wrong. I think it would be interesting to at least figure out if you can use it like before. So I think I mostly want to explore it against Zerg today. I'm not going to look at TVT really at all. I think it has a lot of application early in TVT, but it's such a complex scenario where you have a lot of other units, but just looking at some of the normal things. So let's just put out the normal dudes and assume that no one has upgrades early, and then let's see. So the first thing is just how does the lock-on perform? It's like plus versus... oh, it's not anything, it's just 160 damage. So if you use it on a mothership core, this is not impressive at all. Like, you could use it to push the mothership core away from building pylons, but obviously looking at this type of damage we can easily conclude this is not effective at all. So I don't think we can use it for that, right? Like you would have to move. Let's say there's a bunch of SCVs. Can we put down a bunch of SCVs? And then we just take the core and we just focus down all our SCVs, and we'll see how quickly the Cyclone can kind of deal with them. Right, this does not seem very fun for a unit, so definitely cannot be used to push against the early core. Let's see how it performs against adepts. I should have picked a smaller map. Obviously its attack is not that good for stuttering. But it does actually kill an adept, so that's interesting, because adepts are definitely something that's a little scary. The problem is, of course, is like if the adept just goes for the SCVs, can we do enough? Or innocent SCV line? You know, we probably can actually. So I think that's positive. Who those solids? Obviously you would have more than one Cyclone, I just want to kind of see how it looks. Okay, that's not particularly great, but again, we only had one Cyclone. Against the Stalkers. I'm just trying to get a feel of how it would look early on. I imagine the Cyclone wins here, as long as there's no blink. It wins significantly, right? So at least against Protoss, having like 2 of these out on the map early, I think gives us a very large amount of map control. So let's say we have 2, right? So if you have 2 Stalkers and like 1 Adept, can you actually kill the Cyclones? I don't think you can. Maybe. I didn't target fight that well, right? But I think they would actually work against Protoss for early map control. The downside, of course, is you're investing 200 gas, so maybe for that reason it's not the best in the world. The last thing I wanted to see was how does it do against pylons? Show me who you want to die. It kills them reasonably fast, but not that fast, right? Because 6 range, like the reason you made Cyclones against pylon rushes earlier was because you could lock on out of range. But against this, right, it's like we can't really outrange it, so we're kind of stuck having to fight all the overcharges. And if you think about it, the times you get pylon rushed is like your barrack only just has like 1 or 2 marines if you made a Reaper. So your factory wouldn't be done until the pylons are done. And then let's say you somehow swapped it onto the reactor, which is unlikely because the reactor's in the front one and would die to the pylon rush. Right? Then you just have these 2 guys here, and it's like, what are you really going to do against the charges? So I think the old Cyclone was definitely better, and then you would have to make some tanks instead. Now the other thing that could happen is a lot of the times the pylon rush is followed up by oracles. Let's say you made Cyclones. This does not seem very nice, right? Like, I don't think you would have 2 given the gas, but even having 2, right, it's like the oracle still kills a bunch of res CVs. Let's just try that again.
Let us begin. I see.
This ought to be good. Got a target in mind.
So this is with the Cyclone shooting, right? The other one, the old one, would have killed it by now. So I don't think Cyclones are what you want against the early rushes. So I guess we've established that. I think there would be good map control, but if you get pylon rushed, I don't think I would make them. You would make them before, but I don't think you would make them now. They're also not very good against oracles at all. So I think now what I'm most curious about is against Zerg early on. We could actually maybe get in a spot where we can reactor out Cyclones and assume that Zerg just kind of has a normal setup. Let's just get circling speed.
Show me who you wanted.
I don't think you could stutter step them, so you just kind of have to sit and shoot. This didn't really seem convincing. What if we only have the queens? How do they fare against queens? I mean, I understand the queens are full energy now, but just for a test. See, they're not armored, so they don't actually do that well, but we can kinda kill them. But we are taking a lot of damage, right? So a lot of the times what I imagine would happen is just... maybe it looks something like this, and then I don't think our Cyclones really do exceptionally well. Right? Like... I guess it's kind of okay, but not great. I think against the queens they seem a little bit better than Hellions, right? I mean, they are better than Hellions against it.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah, Hellions don't really scratch them at all, but the Cyclones do actually deal a decent amount of damage. Granted, though, they are a lot more expensive, so you would need more gas. But this could be a way to kind of pressure Zerg. Let's say we went... If we didn't get a starport, and we just didn't get the medevac, and we just opened up like 2 reactor factories, so we end up like... The Hellions build quicker, so for every 3 cycles of Cyclone, you could get 4 of Hellions. Let's say it's like something like this. And then we have probably 2 more queens at that point. And let's say 25 links. So can these guys actually fight that? See, this actually seems relatively strong. Obviously this is kind of a large army, but... what happens if we add like some banelings and some more links? I mean, this actually doesn't look like the worst thing in the world. The thing is, though, it's timing based, right? Like we want some of the fights to be like kind of like this size of army against something like this, maybe. This doesn't seem fantastic. What if we have like 4 Marines with that instead? So,
Are you ready for this? Who wants some? You gonna
I mean, you could have this army early on, right?
smoking?
And then we'll just kind of send the banelings away and just try with the links and not anything else. I mean, the Cyclones tank a lot, so if you can get them to tank, it's like kind of okay.
I get you.
I think this is something maybe I would try and explore in a real game, making the Cyclone Hellion combo, because I don't think pure Cyclone can really do it right. Let's just try. 4 Cyclones get like 25 links. Yeah, they're not really winning this at all. How does it look with upgrades? Let's say Zerg has like 2-2 and Mech probably has 2-1. Something like that. And then we just try with the Cyclones again. Let's take away a little bit of the links. It looks about the same.
By the numbers, boy.
So what if we go back and we put in more Cyclones and more Hellions, and then we make a, let's just give them circling speed, or baneling speed, sorry, and then we just make a crap ton of banelings and circlings. This is a very large Zerg army, but it's also a large Terran army. So I assume there would be some,
Talk to me.
Cyclone received. Got it.
I assume there would be some mutas involved in this. Let's try again. What if we just attack move them? I'm not insanely convinced. Because if we take away this, right, it's like 9 Cyclones, so that's 900 gas. So like 7 tanks, which is even less so. And we just kind of set up. It actually looked kind of similar. So I think I would maybe go up to like 4 Cyclones and 6 Hellions, 8 Hellions for map control, especially if I was meching. But then from there I think you just kind of make tanks instead of Cyclones. Like if you think about it, the advantage of the new ones are they have more range, which we haven't really found a use of yet. We have to find something to put in front to make that work, I think. They're a little bit more powerful against early gateway units. That is true. But they also just build quicker, right? Like you can make 2 instead of 1. The problem is that when building speed matters, it's kind of mostly early game, and they are just expensive to build, right? They're 100 gas a piece. So if you pump out double Cyclone, you can't really do a starport, I think. Like, unless you just fast expand and take free gases, but even then it's kind of iffy because then you don't have that many minerals. So I don't think you're really making much use of the reactor Cyclone except for the first 2 or 4, so that's kind of what we're trying to find an application for. Against early Zerglings, I mean, it seems okay. It definitely means you can't defend with just queens, because I think the Cyclones kind of shrek you. So it does force Zerg to add some lings, but as soon as there's some lings, it doesn't seem that great. So what happens if we're against roaches? Let's just take like, I guess you would have like 7 roaches early. So 7 roaches, and let's just say we had the 4 Cyclones. How does that look? I think I have upgrades, I should take those away. And I guess we can just give them roach speed. They probably wouldn't always have roach speed this early, but let's just give it to them. How does this look? The Cyclones are doing kind of, sort of okay. The problem is, like, it doesn't feel very efficient. What happens if there's just like 2 more roaches? Or maybe like a queen or 2.
This ought to be good.
Okay, with just 2 more roaches it goes terrible for us, so it's like a numbers thing. What if we have like the 4 Hellions I was talking about?
Where's the hot action? I'm waiting on you.
Show me who you want to die.
They aren't contributing that much. Ah, they did soak some hits. See, with the Hellions kind of tanking, it did change it a lot. So what if there's some lingy links? 10 links? We're just kind of exploring what the armies look like. But I do think this type of army, it seems to perform reasonably well against early Zerg shenanigans. Although this time we're getting screwed.
This ought to be good.
We are faster than the roaches though, so we can always run. And then you force out some roaches. I don't hate maybe trying for a 2 factory with this.
This ought to be good.
Because let's say we go later in the game. Let's go 2-1 and Zerg gets 2-2, and then they go Hydras. Guess they would have some Ravagers. Like this kind of army. 67 supply. And then we just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more. And I don't think I want more Cyclones. Let's make 2 more because we went greedy. Would I have a Thor? I don't think so. I mean, now our army is just smaller. That seems weird. Guess we have 1 more tank and like 2 more Hellions.
What's our target? Are you?
Cyclone receiving.
I'm just gonna try and siege in the battle, and we'll try and pre-siege before. This looks very strong. What if we just kind of sit out the tanks? I mean, then I imagine we just lose. We can take the Ravager aside, maybe. They're actually doing okay against the roaches. But at this point we have to run. You could kind of trade away your Hellbats. How much did each side lose here? Let's go back. We had 11 roaches. So we killed 11 roaches for all our Hellions. That... How many Hellions do we have?
Talk to me, boss.
8, 11? That actually is a good trade, right? Like, if we trade like this,
In mind.
Light it up.
with all these guys here, and these guys fuck off. Just doing some army arrangement to make it a little bit more realistic.
Show me who you want to die.
So if we just run right here, are we good? No, now we only killed like 6 for all the 11. That doesn't seem that great. Because they can build them faster. What happens if we have like 3 tanks and we just kind of sit out the rest here?
Are you ready for this? What's our target? Need something?
I mean, they are actually tanking for a while. They're not dealing the best damage back. They're kind of expensive tanks. But maybe. I mean, the question you always have to ask is like, what happens if our army just looks like... Ah, that was maybe a bit too many Cyclones. If our army just looks like this,
Are you ready?
Show me who you
instead of having tanks, and then we'll try with tanks after.
Our allies are being attacked.
I mean, you would think this is good, but this is just getting kind of inefficient. We are barely winning, which is interesting. Although, I guess if we were to change the Zerg army a bit. If this looks like this, maybe?
Are you ready for this?
got a target in mind.
Daylight's burning. I hear you.
Comms.
It's actually surprisingly good. Maybe this is we're onto something here. I think the big bane of these types of armies. Oh, I should have hellbat it. I think the big bane is like circlings, really. But I guess if we have hellbats, it doesn't really matter that much. Let's try again. It's weird because it seems like we would lose now, right? But I mean, I think this was okay for us. What happens if they have more roaches? Now the army is a little bit bigger, I understand that. I'll probably replay this exact one. I don't think this is the worst in the world, so let's say we just have like 3 tanks. It is also not incredibly realistic to have a very large Terran army, because our army seems way larger than his, right, in terms of numbers. But we can pump these units out very quickly, they're very inexpensive. Well, not inexpensive, but like very fast to build, because we can react to them. See, the Hellions die fast, but these guys doesn't actually die that fast. They're 2 armor and 180 hit points. That seems very strong.
Show me who you want to die.
I guess I don't actually care about the blinding clouds. That's not what we're testing them for. Although I guess they can move. The other thing I want to do is... I think this is a kind of similar army though, which makes me a little bit sad. Maybe it's a little bit stronger on the tank side, but not by that much. Just gonna get uber shreked. Okay, let's try that a little bit different. Do I have movement speed? I don't think so. Oh, I should have had this one. Yeah, we have road speed. Okay.
Our allies are being attacked.
Tanks are really strong. Although, to be fair, when it looks like this, when we're not pre-sieged, the Zerg troops actually do so well. Right? So we're at 58 supply.
Talk to me, boss. Daylight's burning. I'm waiting.
You got coordinates or what?
So what happens if we just walk into them again like this? Is this better or worse? It's actually worse by a significant amount. See, that's the thing. I think maybe we can do something like we open up 4 or 6 cyclones, and then we go into tanks after that, and you could maybe do some decent mechs. So let's try something a little bit different. Let's get rid of you, and then get some bio upgrades. And I think the Zerg army would also be a little bit bigger. Although, as much as I want Ravagers, just to illustrate, I can't really micro them while doing the other side, so it just feels like cheating, because I drop them and then I dodge them.
Now what?
We had a very bad concave on the bio, but... Do they add enough DPS for their gas cost? Probably not, right? Like, we got crushed pretty handily there, although we had a bad concave. Let's just try it again with a little bit better concave.
Been waiting.
Show me who you wanted.
Been waiting.
Channel's clear.
This better.
Because The thing that makes the range sick is they can be behind the Marines. But I mean, this is not the worst in the world. But what happens if we just don't have the Cyclones? And let's say we just have like 4 tanks, which is actually less than the other one. How this looks? The Zerg concave was not that good this time. We might have to redo this. But the tanks do clearly seem superior. Let's just try one more time. This time we had a very bad tank siege. Then we kind of get crushed a little bit. Let's just try again. I fucked up this Zerg one. I kind of feel like the tank one is better. But I do think the early Cyclones are kind of interesting. They don't feel like they pair that well with Bio because they don't add more DPS than otherwise. I'm just gonna do this for because I feel like I have to. Let's say we have 1 vehicle upgrade to no air upgrades, just because, and we have 4 Cyclones and like 8 Mutalisks. This does not seem like the counter at all, right?
You got coordinates or what? Cyclone en route. Into position. Oh, I'll get there.
Okay, so they do not kill mutas, which means you need Thors in your army, because well, you need Thors to kill the mutas if you're playing mech. What about Brute Lords and Corruptors? I think they might do better against those. Because they're armored, right?
Cyclone receiving. This ought to be good.
You fuckers stay out of it. Didn't really do exceptional. What if we just have
Show me who you want to
2?
die.
Can we actually kill it?
You got coordinates or what? Cyclone Show me who you want to die.
It's still not the best counter I've ever seen against Corruptors. I don't think I would make them for anti-air purposes. I think you can do better with your money. Remember, they're free supply. Viking is 2 supply, and it's like, this is not really hooray damage at all. Like, we can compare it, right? If we just take like a Marine with +3 in stim.
Got a target in mind.
Oh, I need another Corruptor. Let's make 1 more. So if we take you and we send here, and we take this one,
Channel's clear, boss.
and that one is the Cyclone, and this one is the Marine.
Our allies are
Remember, the Cyclone started shooting first. It's like, do you see the difference here? And it's like, I don't think the... Look, the Marine is killing it quicker. Even after Stim wore off, will he win? And the Cyclone started first. It just wore off. So yeah, for anti-air purposes, this unit is trash. Against early Ling Queen, I think it pairs well with the Hellions. Or the Hellbats very specifically. I'm gonna make an ultra list, but I can already tell you that this will be the uber fails. Let's make a non-chitinous +2 armor ultra list first against +2 vehicle attack.
This ought to be good.
This is 9 supply against 6. Is this a recipe for success? No. Like, if we just... Oh, I didn't want to give them that yet. if we just have 3 against like 10. This is 18 against 60 supply. Are they winning? I mean, they're kind of winning, but in terms of efficiency, we lost 500 gas. We won out slightly.
Got a target in mind.
Now we're roughly the same supply. Oh, we have one marine, he can fuck off. So we are the same supply. And we're not really winning. Especially because you can't really stutter the cyclones. So what happens if the Zerg just has... Let's say he has Chitinous and +3, and we have +3. You even stim our 1 submarine. So we're not doing that. Okay, well, I think conclusion-wise, just to wrap it up, I'm not gonna look so much at the Terran versus Terran. Against Protoss, we think it's good early game against the roaming units, but we don't really think... I guess I could try, but I don't imagine it does very well against... let's just do +2 to 1-1. So they're 2-0 against 1-1. I don't think they do that well against Blink Stalkers where you can micro. Well, maybe I spoke too soon. Let's try it again. I kind of messed up my micro. Although I think the army value is skewed. Yeah, let's make a couple more Stalkers. Or maybe we'll take away like a Cyclone and make like here, so we're even. And then get rid of this one Marine because he's bothering me. This still feels like a small amount of Stalkers, but... We're actually winning. And the Stalkers are worth a very similar amount. Let's try one more. Okay, they're actually decent against just Blink Stalkers. What if there's like 2 Immortals and then... I mean, you would really have bio against Protoss, right? Let's just say we have like 2 tanks or something. Okay, does not seem to pair particularly well against Immortals. My Immortals aren't shooting at all. I think our Terran army is just bigger, yeah. Oh, now the Protoss army is bigger. What if we do it like this? This is actually decent. Although, to be fair, our army is a lot of gas here. Not that much more than the Protoss, though. I guess one of the things I'm doing maybe a little bit wrong is not giving the Protoss armor upgrades. Let's say we're 2-2 and then we have 1-1 and we give them back the army. But I'm a little bit surprised about how well they perform. Oh, I forgot to make a sentry. Damn. I can tell you already now that a sentry would obviously make a big difference. I do really like the Cyclone damage against the Stalkers. That seems powerful. But let's try with just like 2 sentries, and then I don't think we're winning anymore. But it is surprisingly strong. Yeah, they're just very affected by Guardian Shield. So now we got Shrek. I think they are maybe a bit on the expensive side, but against people that are very... Like, if you get Blink, someone that just opens very heavy Blink, instead of, like, Immortal Sentry, I actually don't hate them. So, to recap, I think they can be okay early game against Protoss, especially against some Stalker-heavy compositions. They're not that good against Immortals, obviously, and they're not that good against Sentries specifically. So I wouldn't mass them, but getting, like, 2 would probably be fine, 4, probably. But beyond that, I think you're wasting your gas. Against Zerg, the same thing. Maybe you can open up 2 factories and just go like 4 Cyclones and 6 Hellions, 4 Hellions, and try and get some map control and pressure the Queens, because they do okay against Roaches in low numbers. They're fine tanking with the tanks later, which we kind of saw. Is like if you just have Hellbat Cyclone tank, it's fine. Against Ling Baneling, I mean, you're meching, so if they go Ling Baneling, that's probably fine. You just can't attack with these armies, you have to just sit back, but that was kind of your game plan anyways. And they are relatively fast out on the map, and you know, you can just leave the Cyclones at home and go with Hellbats. They're sadly not very good against anti-air, so using them against cheeses, like pylon rushes into oracles, or just oracles, is not good. They don't seem good against mutas, so you still need Thors and turrets if you're meching against Zerg. But all in all, I thought they were kind of interesting. I don't think we didn't find anything we could pair them with that made them proper army units. We just kind of think they're very good for controlling the early game, not as anti-harassment as before. So they seem to have switched a little bit more into kind of like map control units instead of like air defense units, because that's what you used them primarily for before, right? It was like against oracles and stuff like that. But they do seem better at just like fighting regular gateway and early game Zerg, like slow roaches, even some amount of speedlings if you pair them with Hellions. And we can abuse that we can build them a little bit quicker, just because I think we can get the pressure out a little bit earlier. But you probably do have to get 2 factories to do it on time, because as soon as the armies gets bigger, they don't seem to pair well with. Like, they pair okay with Hellbats, and it seems passable, but worse than tanks. They seem to pair pretty poorly with Bio. Again, it's like passable, but if you had more Bio, I think it would just be better. And you wouldn't have to split your upgrades. They are very weak to things like Guardian Shield and being behind in upgrades. So unless you are dedicated mech, don't try and combine them with others, just because, you know, they fall behind on armor upgrades, and they have such low damage and such a fast attack speed that being behind on damage, like attack upgrades to armor, is just terrible. But yeah, that was kind of the look at the Cyclone, where we would maybe try and apply it next. I mean, the patch is still young, maybe there's room for exploration, but this was kind of my take on what I think you might use them for, and just to kind of get a feel of like how does the different scenarios look. So I hope you enjoyed this kind of different video. Definitely not as action-packed, but for those of you that are trying to get better but necessarily might not sit and try it in a unit tester, now it's here for you, and I hope you'll learn something from it. Maybe we can get some more Cyclones in the games, although I do think they are kind of relegated to a very niche role and perhaps a little bit less needed than the previous ones, just because Terran already had a decent amount of what they're already providing in terms of like early game control.